All right, awesome. So we're going to start with Christina, and we're just going to start really simply. Let us know your name, your pronoun if you like to use those, what your major or minor was, if you're a current student or alumni, and then where you're from. So just that basic information.
My name is Christina, and my major is health science with a concentration in biological and health management. I'm currently a sophomore, almost junior. I'm like on the borderline. And I grew up here in Tampa.
My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a political science major. I'm a junior at USF, I think I graduate spring 2022. I also have a minor in general. I have a general business certificate, which is like the only way you can get a business minor here. And I am from Fort Myers, Florida. It's about 2 hours south of Tampa.
And then we'll go next to Kazi.
Okay. Hi, I'm.
Did I answer?
Oh, hi, I'm Kazi. I'm a second-year sophomore student here at USF. I'm also on the pre-law track, and I am from Jacksonville, Florida, but I was born in Dhaka, Bangladesh.
All right. So from Jacksonville, are we Duval or St. John in the house?
We're Duval, sadly.
Oh. What, you didn't do the cheer?
It's too early.
Too early for the cheer? Okay, no problem. All right, next, Kelsey.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I am an alumni of USF. I graduated from USF with a degree in psychology and also a business certificate. And I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Awesome. And then Maria? Oh, Maria, you're on mute.
That's the most famous phrase of 2020. Well, my name is Maria, she, her, hers. I am originally from Venezuela. I used to live in Tampa, but now I'm in Tennessee. Whoa. I am a senior, and my major is Business Analytics and Information Systems, and I have a minor in Environmental Policy.
Awesome. Thank you. And then last, we have Sebastian.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sebastian, pronouns he, him, his. I'm an alumni, graduated this year with a degree in history and political science, a dual degree. Originally, I was born in Bogota, Colombia, but my hometown is in Lauderdale, Florida, where I reside now.
Awesome. And since we have two alumni, Sebastian, do you mind telling us a little bit what you're doing after graduation? And then we'll come back to Kelsey for that same question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually just finishing up a contract now. I was a field organizer for the nonprofit Equality Florida, which means it's a seasonal cycle job. Cycle, we have field organizers to try and get the vote out for our political candidates. So that's just finishing up now. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So I bet it's been a crazy few weeks for you, huh?
Yeah, I'm finally getting to breathe. So it's very
awesome. And then what about you, Kelsey? What have you been doing since graduation?
Yeah, so I am currently a second-year graduate student at Middle Tennessee State University, pursuing a master's in industrial and organizational psychology. So I do a lot of, it's kind of similar to HR, but a little bit more research-oriented. So that's what I've been up to.
Awesome. And for those who've not heard that term, could you just tell them a little bit about IO psychology, like the base overview?
Yeah, so kind of just the general areas in IO that I am interested in is recruitment, selection, training, and organizational development. So how are we going to get employees into our organization? How are we going to ensure that they are happy doing what they do? And just promoting a really good work environment.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. All right, so we're going to start over the order with Christina. Can you tell us a little bit about like your biggest fears were with picking a major and how you maybe overcome them or are still working through them?
So definitely for me, my biggest fears was my family, because like for most of my life, I had said that I wanted to be a physician. And then once I got into it, I realized like, do I want to put that much work? Is that what I want to dedicate my life to? So I just had to do some soul searching and to decide what I wanted to do in my life.
Yeah, and we get that a lot, right? The family is such an interesting dynamic because they're usually your number one motivator and like your number one anxiety factor at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of the hard part about family.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What about you, Haley?
I didn't even think about that, but I also have to agree that, I mean, one of my biggest fears was like letting down my family. You know, are they going to look at something like I'm political science? They're going to look at that and say, how much money are you going to make? Is that going to make any money? What's, you know, but what I wrote down, my biggest fear is, you know, I think it's kind of cliche. Is this the right major for me? You know, what, like, I'm fear of missing out. Like, what else is there that am I boxing myself into something that I can't get out of? So that was my biggest fear. And I think, do you want me to answer like how I overcame it?
Yeah, or we should probably reword that, not overcome it, but how do we deal with it, right? Because that feeling never leaves, right? Every time you start a new job, every time you got a big life decision, that feeling never leaves. So yeah, what are some of the things you do to deal with that fear and that stress?
Honestly, just plan everything for me. That like lowers, you know, my anxiety in general, and fears about the future. So, you know, before I decided my major, and kind of during like when I decided it, I found out what the careers were, like what the possible tracks were, like law and like journalism and different things. And I went to clubs like that. And I was like, do I like this? And I did not like mock trials. I'm like, not law. So I figured out a lot of stuff that I did not like. Still figuring out what I do like. But that really calmed my fears. Is just the unknown is now a lot more known.
Yeah.
So that has really helped me.
Yeah. And what you mentioned there is actually probably the most common thing that happens. Most students have this idea when you come from high school that like you're gonna reach up and just like grab your purpose, but most of it comes from elimination. And then when you only have like 2 or 3 things on your list, it just becomes a more manageable task.
Right. So I basically figured out like I don't want to do. I wanted to do world languages because I wanted to learn Latin for law, and I crossed that off. And I wanted to do mass comm, and I crossed it off. But then I had like English and poli sci, and so I narrowed it down slowly, and realized this one fits me pretty well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. What about you, Kazi? Oh, I think you're muted.
So I had 2 fears. One was my family, like as everybody else before me said. My parents and my siblings all wanted me to do computer science, and I kind of just like went along with it because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And once I got here and I saw my course list, and I was like, I don't want to take physics 3. I don't want to do that. And so then I came to Shane and I talked about it, and I wanted to do law, and I was like, well, computer science doesn't really follow that path correctly. So I had to kind of like just sit down with my parents and be like, listen, you guys also want me to do law, but this doesn't follow the path. And if I did it, I would be behind a year and it would just mess everything up. My second fear was failure. I didn't want to pick a major that I would end up doing poorly in, because obviously GPA is a big thing. So I didn't want to do something that I would just like fail all the classes, and I'd be stressed out all the time worrying about grades and things like that. So I felt confident in myself that I could do and that I could pass if I just worked hard enough.
No, that's a great point, because sometimes a student knows they have a career goal like after their major, right? And maybe it's a grad school for law or psych, and you know that GPA is important, and then you don't want to pick a major that lowers that GPA, right? That's a bigger risk than being in the wrong major for some students. Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Kelsey?
I think my biggest fear was declaring my major, taking courses for a semester and realizing it wasn't that right fit for me, and then having, quote, like wasted a semester of my life when I could have been moving forward in the right path that was meant for me. So I guess kind of dealing with that fear, it's part of the process. It's trial and error. You're not always going to figure things out the first time, and that's okay. At least like this wasn't meant for me, so that time was worth it, and that time was well spent, versus seeing it as, wow, I just wasted a whole semester or 3 months when I could have been working towards what I actually want to be. So
awesome. And usually my advice to students is, if we're real lucky, you'll live 80 or 90 years. So when you look at it that way, right? 16 weeks is such a blip on the radar. But I'm going to use this opportunity to see, did any of our panelists pick a major from the ECM program, but then once you were in your major, made another change? I don't know if you did. Okay, Maria, if you don't mind, Maria, will you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So when I first started my career as a student at USF, I wanted to do global business. And I wanted to combine it with environment, so I could address things such as climate change in a global perspective and business and whatnot. However, I learned that I couldn't complete the requirement to travel abroad. And then I had to change my major. It was sort of an external thing. It's not really just because I wanted to, but because I couldn't complete that requirement, I wasn't gonna be able to complete the major, so I had to think of something else.
Okay.
That was one of the main reasons why. And also, I did have a double major at some point. I had a double major with environmental policy, but then decided to only focus on my business major and then do a minor in environment. So then I will be better off pursuing a master than a double major. So yeah, I've been there, changed majors, done that, but I'm gonna graduate. So it's good, guys. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah, cool. And that's what we were hoping you would say, right? That does happen. There's actually a lot of students who end up changing their major after ECM because remember, a big part of ECM is how many credits you have coming in with. Some students only get a semester in it, some get a full year. So what I always tell my students is I'm not concerned if you change your major twice. I'm just concerned that you know how to change your major, right? Doing the research, getting involved so that you end up there. And the other thing that Ria said that is actually really, really common is people will start with doubles and then reduce those down to minors. So for all the students listening, just so you know, here at USF, we have a rule. If your double major keeps you here even a year longer, we will not approve it. The reason being, as Maria said, the money is in the master's degrees for our generation. So why would we keep you here another year for a minor or a double major when a master's degree is only 2 years? So great. Thank you so much for that. And then we'll just wrap up. Sebastian, what kind of fears did you have for your possible major selection?
Yeah, so I'll share some of the sentiments that Haley said. I mean, political science and history, right? It's like, what kind of job am I going to have after I graduate, right? This, especially with a major that doesn't directly translate into a job position / title, right? That's always a little bit difficult to navigate. But what I've learned is truly the importance on your major, at least for my field and what I do, it's definitely a lot more decreased, right? It's more about what you can do, your skills, your resume and whatnot. And so the major for me actually was helpful. It taught me all the skills that I use in my job every day, right? I mean, my history major, I was scared. That's why I chose dual degree. That's why I did political science. I'm like, I don't want to teach, right? I don't want to be just a history major. But little did I know that the history a degree would give me all these tools that I really use every day to succeed. So definitely my biggest fear, was job security after I graduated. But yeah, 4 years definitely helped society in that regard.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's perfect because one of the student submitted questions was, besides for your job, like what were you looking to get out of your major? And I think Sebastian answered that pretty well, but we'll go around the group. Christina, what kind of things are you looking to get out of your major beyond just that title?
Okay. So I was looking for more soft skills, to learn more, and just things that interest me. So I don't like to be bored like most people. So I wanted to make sure it was something that I could find entertaining and that could still teach me soft skills at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's every student has that choice, right? Because some students go, I want those hard skills, right? We see that a lot in engineering majors or over in mass communications, their multimedia production major versus going into that integrated advertising major. So that's definitely for all the students listening, you're going to get both at USF, but let's definitely, right, that's part of your values. Thinking about when I choose my major, am I looking one that's soft skill heavy or hard skill heavy? So that was an amazing response. Thank you. All right. So Haley, what about you? What are you looking from your major beyond just like that title?
I was definitely looking to help people. I wanted any major that I could do that could give me an avenue to help the most people possible. And so I was seeing all these issues, all these problems. I was, watching YouTube, CNN, Fox News, all that stuff. And I was getting mad, and I'm like, I feel so unequipped to do anything about this issue that mattered to me. And so I thought political science would be the tool. I would learn history. I would see all perspectives, both sides. So far, I've had amazing professors with a lot of rich backgrounds that have, I've been in classes on the Middle East. I'm in 2 classes on Russia right now. So it's given me a lot of perspectives and a lot of knowledge. But I also, so I appreciated that, and that's what I wanted. I also took my general business certificate because I felt like I wasn't getting as much real world skills as I could be in political science. Like I was really just learning a lot, history, theory. So I have my certificate where I learn, management skills and accounting and marketing. So I can use those, kind of softer skills or, because I think I would like to manage a team one day. I know that for sure. So learning those skills as well. And I know I'm going to be doing some internships in the future, and hopefully I can work on my soft skills as well.
Awesome.
That. Yeah.
Thank you. And for you all that's listening, that right there is how it's done, right? Because your major will never solve all your problems. It's an important part, but nothing can be all encompassing, right? That's where the double major, the minor, the certificates, the student clubs, the internships. So if you've been waiting for like this choice of major to just like solve everything, it will never do that, right? It's just not physically possible. So it's that combination of experiences at USF that'll get you to your endpoint. So awesome. What about you, Kazee?
Okay, so out of my major, I wanted to get something that I would like genuinely enjoy, because like I have to be with this, like whatever I pick and whatever degree I get, it's going to be with me for the rest of my life, basically. So I wanted something that I would genuinely enjoy and I wouldn't regret choosing later on. So with finance, I've always like enjoyed reading about businesses and what like other companies were doing. And I would always find myself like checking like CNN and like MSNBC about like what's going on with like the stock market and things like that. I didn't really understand it, but I still enjoyed reading about it. So that's what I'm thinking on, to make sure that I would enjoy what I was doing, basically.
Awesome. And again, I told you, right, your choice of major, the reason we put so much emphasis on it is it's really more symbolic, right? Because you're about to enter a time in your life where you're going to be making choices. When you leave here, you got to pick a company to work for, an industry to work for, and you're repeating this process where you have to go, what excites me? What fulfills me, what sustains me. And so those are the things that just are repeated over and over. So appreciate that. What about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, for me, it was more of like kind of what Haley said, helping people. So kind of being service oriented, but I wanted to do it from an arm's length away. I didn't want to do things directly. I wanted to work kind of behind the scenes and helping people. And I wanted to be able to work in kind of any industry. And so that's what my major as an industrial organizational psychologist has allowed me to do. I can work with law enforcement. I can work with nonprofits. I can work with airline industries, fashion industries, you name it. I can take my degree anywhere and be able to apply the knowledge and skills that I've acquired to those jobs. So that was something that I valued a lot with my psychology degree and now my master's.
Awesome. Right. And so another great point there. Most people, when we ask them this question, will say help people. And they go, Shane, what major helps people? They all help people, right? It's just, how do you want to help? And, again, not surprised, Kelsey, being an alumni, being able to articulate a pretty deep concept, right? I want to help from an arm's length away, right? That's something you probably wouldn't have said in your first year at college. And that's one of the processes we're doing here, is figuring out how you want to help. Because I'll be honest, I wouldn't last 1 minute as an ER doctor, right? I'd be crying in the corner during my first shift. But I feel like I help people, so for all those listening, right, that's figuring out is your values, your skill set, and how that helps people. It's not one way to help people. Awesome. What about you, Maria?
Okay. So I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I wanted a major that would challenge me to learn something different, to get those hard skills, because I knew that I already was strong with my communication skills, that I knew that I wanted to do something that was good for the planet, but I knew what my strengths were, but I wanted to become strong in other areas as well. I wanted to be more marketable. I wanted to be a person that will be out there in the job market and offer a variety of skills. So that's the reason why I choose business analytics and information systems, which it's something I never thought I would do. I never thought I would be sitting down, coding, getting the requirements that are needed to build an app, or being there in the middle of the intersection of business, people, and technology. But I took that decision because I wanted to learn something new. I wanted to be ahead with technology. And even though it's been challenging, and some of the courses I've been like, wow, building a database is not my thing. But it's shown me perspectives to do things differently, and it's shown me how to think with systems. And I've just learned things about myself that I wouldn't have if I had chosen a major that I would be more comfortable with. So that's it. And then of course, in order to pair it with something that I will be passionate about, I stick with my minor in environmental science, environmental policy, which, yes, environment is what really matters to me. But I thought maybe I would be more useful by pursuing something in the area of business and technology than just sticking up with environment. It's just a strategy game, really. It's just how you can play with the skills you have and the skills that this major or minor certificates can give you. So it really comes to sitting down and playing a strategy, because it's a strategy at the end of the game. And it really comes down to assessing your skills and your wants and what you would like to improve in, right? So, and of course, something that will make you happy or get you closer to you becoming happy at the end of the day.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just want to point out, right, that one of our panelists said soft skills, one of our panelists said hard skills, right? And so it's so important for you to talk to people, but this is why we warn against comparison, right? So yes, we want you talking to each other. That's, I mean, why we're having this panel right now. But I just, thought it was so awesome that right away we had two people say the opposite, and they're both right because they're being right for themselves. So that was great. Okay, Sebastian, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I think the soft skills answer is great, right? So I never thought that my history major would be the most relevant in my political career. I mean, being able to digest large amounts of information, synthesize complicated concepts, these history disciplines that are really applicable in my field now. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, being passionate about something, right, is super important. It what makes you go to class, do your homework, really learn those skills. And again, I think Maria's answer about it's a game about how to balance your skills and marketability and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
Awesome. And so again, I'm gonna kind of build off what you just said. Perfect segue. We'll start back up with Christina. We know that even when we like our major, we don't love every course. So Christina, tell us, how do you deal with a course that isn't your favorite, a course that you would call, quote, boring? Like, how do you get through that course when you know it's just not the thing you're most passionate about?
So for me, I like to be accountable. I am kind of unconventional in that I found a friend that we know each other's grades and basically are like, wow, you could do better than this. And if you need to, any help, then I can help you in that way. And I know that wouldn't work for a lot of people, but it works for me because I like having someone hold me accountable and ensure that I do well in my classes.
Awesome. Everyone needs an accountability buddy. All right. What about you, Haley?
I've actually liked all my classes. I haven't had a boring class in college. I mean, in high school.
I don't believe that.
No.
Let me look at your degree works.
Oh my God. Well, I have had classes that have gone on a little too long, probably, because we got 3 hour classes in poli sci. But I would say plan ahead, because boring classes, you can just say, this is like, I feel like a lot of boring classes are easy, so you don't want to pay attention as much, and then you can actually get behind. I have done this before. I've gotten behind in classes that I thought were so easy. So really plan ahead and just, put maybe in your, I use my calendar all the time. Just utilize your Google Calendar. Put in, exam this day, like really big projects and tests this day. Even if it is boring, even if you think it's the easiest thing in the world, and it's, you're bored out of your mind.
Yeah. No, but you made a good point, because, I was kind of framing it as like that one boring class in your major, but you're right. For most of my students, usually that easy A class that maybe you took during the summer, shout out to Survey of Jazz, right? Right. Those are the ones that end up tripping you up, because you're not engaged, and therefore it's easy to make an excuse. I'm not going to do this homework today. I'm going to keep putting it off. So awesome. What about you, Kazi?
So for me, it's more of a mind thing. If I have a boring class and I don't really want to go to that class, I just think I'm only taking this class for 16 weeks and I will never have to sit through this ever again in my life. So it's more of just a mind thing. So then if I think of it that way, then I'm just like, okay, I just have to get through this next class and then the class after that, and then I'm done. And then it's just like, that's what motivates me. It's like, once I'm done with it, never have to repeat it again. And then I know what type of classes to avoid in the future. Like, okay, this type of marketing class I didn't enjoy. So when I plan my schedule, I'm like, if I have to choose elective or anything like that, I'm like, didn't like it, or I didn't like this professor, didn't like what I was being taught, I'll just avoid it and push it aside. And then that just helps me curate a better like set of classes for me that I know I'll be more engaged with and I will personally enjoy. And I won't have to have that mindset. It's like, okay, just like suffer through it and get it done with.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, so I think of it as, whenever you join the workforce, when you get to that point in your life where you're in your job, you are going to be handed tasks that are just not engaging. You're not going to find interest in them. They just don't align with what you like to do. And so I think in times like those, you just have to find ways to make it interesting and spin it so that you find interest and passion in what you're doing, even if it's a mundane task. You can look at it as like, this is an opportunity to like relax my cognitive load, or, this is an opportunity to really expand my knowledge or try something I would never seek out on my own. So the same thing could be translated into the classroom setting. If a topic is boring, let's say you have a project you have to do, spin that some type of way so that it's interesting to you. Or if there's a topic on the syllabus that you're like, that one sounds kind of interesting, or I might actually like that one, just put that on your calendar and have that as something to look forward to. It's really just what you make of it.
Awesome. What about you, Maria?
Well, I think Kelsey says something very important about trying to make classes more interesting. And that's something I do with some of my business analytics classes, that I try to see how can I solve an environmental problem with an application, right? So how can you link things that you're passionate about with the topics you're learning in this class? It's like the best way to make it engaging for you, because, right, we're in college and we're learning all this coursework, but it's important that we find ways in which we can link whatever we're learning to the real world, to something that we're passionate about. How can I use these skills or this knowledge to turn it into a solution to something, or turning into something or another perspective that I can see to solve this problem that matters a lot to me. So just try to keep it that way. At the end of the day, it's an investment that you're doing in yourself, even if it's a little boring. Try to make the best out of it.
Awesome. And spoken like a true upper class student, right? So that's especially what we look for in our juniors and seniors. So what Maria was hitting on is, right, one of these differences between high school and college. They can seem so similar because we're going to classes, we're taking tests, but all high school will do is preparing you to pass SATs and ACTs so you can go to college, right? When you're in college, if you do not take what you're learning in the classroom and use it in your personal life, you have not gotten your money's worth. And it takes us usually about 2 to 3 years before we learn that. And let's also remember, we know how first year gen eds are, right? Not all of them are as applicable as those junior and senior courses. But that's why we put so much emphasis at USF of getting you to year 3, right? because year 3 is really when classes get very specific for training for your future. So thank you. All right. And then Sebastian.
Yeah, so Kelsey, you stole my answer. That's perfect. What a great way. No matter where you go, I've learned this not just after graduating, but my jobs during my time in college. You're always going to have stuff that you're not going to want to do, and so the mindset that you have now in college, not necessarily the specific skills, and then because you've all touched on that very well, the calendars and all these methods, but your mindset. It's the same thing when you get to a job. In fact, I would argue that once it's the stakes are a little bit higher, it's a little bit more anxiety inducing. Sometimes I wish I could go back into one of my classes. I know your GPA is very important and whatnot, but I just feel like, dang, if I could just go back and kind of feel the way I did at, when my classes, when I didn't want to do a homework, which in my opinion, the stakes are a little bit lower in that case, compared to now where if I don't want to complete a task, one of my candidates might not get elected, and a lot of people's lives are affected. And so that mindset, that point of view that you have now, it will come back, and the more that you practice and perfect it and master it now, the better off that you'll be in the future. So great point in investing in yourself and investing in your future.
Awesome. And you hit on something I went through too, where like I used to like live and die by every exam. It felt like so much weight. And then you go in the real world and you're like, oh, school is like a vacation compared to the real world, right? But not to worry, everyone, because you also, with that career, you get power, right? You can start affecting change. You can change your life, your family's life, the life of your community, so that risk becomes worth it because you start to yield your power. So, but yeah, I used to get so nervous for exams, and now if I have an exam, it's like a day off for me compared to my job. All right, cool. So we're going to do one more question before we open it to the Q&A. And so you all have hit on a lot of the outside of the classroom stuff, but I was hoping we just go through order and just talk about those outside of the classroom things. I know you've been through a lot, but like one or two, like your favorite club, your favorite internship, whatever that one or two experiences that really changed your trajectory here at USF.
Okay, so I just want to boost my job real quick. So I work at the USF Oracle, which is USF Tampa's, student newspaper, award-winning student newspaper. I'm the managing editor there. I used to be the chief copy editor. I still do that. I'm still also the chief copy editor, technically. And I joined the Oracle in fall 2019, so it's just been a year. And I had done newspaper in high school, and I thought I could continue with copy editing. And I realized a few things, that I like copy editing. I actually have a passion for it, and so it doesn't align with my major because it's all English. It's basically English. But I was getting so much from the Oracle, I thought, why do English? Because I was getting a lot of real world experience from this anyways. And I also met a lot of mass comm majors and English majors that told me about their classes, told me about their experiences, and I realized that that was not the right fit for me. So through that club, I definitely, organization, I learned a lot about what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and copy editing is certainly one track I want to follow, as well as political science. I also joined mock trial for a bit and realized I don't like to debate people, and the spotlight isn't really where I want to be. At the time, I didn't have the confidence really to try that. So I figured out that wasn't for me. I think I tried another club, but I can't remember right now. But I just, I figured out a possible career path through my organization. And I figured I knocked down a few majors that I didn't want to do.
Awesome. And so I just want to point out something that Haley mentioned, like how quickly she's risen up in the ranks within a year, right? So we all know that by the time we leave USF, we'll probably have an internship, and those are great. But this is why you're hearing people always pushing student clubs and internal USF organizations, because we're here to give young students a chance you will not get in the real world as an 18, 19, 20-year-old. So yeah, you'll probably get some sort of internship, but at the same point, it's those clubs where you can, within a year, go from I'm a member to I'm the secretary or I'm the historian, right? Also, you do not have to be the president of a club in order to really gain from it, right? So thank you, Haley. Next, Kazi.
So I use my extracurriculars to kind of like just follow my different passions. They don't really align with my major, and one of them isn't at USF. It's my volunteer experience. So I'm a mentor at the Tampa Bay Academy of Hope, where it means I am a mentor to like at-risk youth, and I will like give them advice and be like a older sibling type deal. So I've always enjoyed working with kids. That's like what my whole entire high school volunteer experience was with, and I wanted to keep up with that. And like being a mentor, it teaches you like some soft skills like communications and interpersonal skills. So that's really helpful. It doesn't align with my major, but not everything you do in school has to align with your major to get you to a certain job. Like you still have the opportunity and ability to follow your different passions and different outlets and things like that. And everything you do will build up your skill set. Like no matter what it is, it will still help you build up your skill set and like just make you a better employee, friend, family member, anything like that. And the other thing I do is that I'm a research assistant at the USF Right Path Center. And like the research that I do is also with families and kids. So there's a lot of opportunities in and around USF that don't exactly align with everything you want, like everything with your major, but are still great opportunities.
Awesome. If you don't mind me asking, how did you get connected to that research opportunity?
Well, I was looking for jobs because I have federal work study. So I was like looking for jobs over the summer, and I saw that, and I was like, this is actually really cool because I've been looking for something else to like for me to be able to work with kids and things like that. So I looked up where I did the interview, and then I got the position basically. So it's just like always being on the lookout for different opportunities because you can't just like sit and expect things to come towards you. You have to actively go out and seek it. It's a lot of work, and you may not always get what you want, but it is really beneficial.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, so I became plugged into the psychology department by becoming a research assistant for a research lab, IO related. And I think that really helped me develop my own understanding of IO and what kind of path I wanted to take with my IO concentration kind of. It was because of they have like a psychology fair, I believe in October every year, that I had attended, and I met some people and I was like, this is really cool. And that's kind of how I made my connections to become a research assistant. However, I think you can just like email them off the website and they'll let you know what kind of availability they have. That kind of helped formulate what I wanted to do a little bit better. And then I also became a part of PsyChi, which is the National Honor Society for Psychology. That's the USF chapter. And we hosted a lot of events throughout the year that helped you connect with other psychology students who were like-minded. And then kind of outside of psychology stuff, I was also an employee at the Campus Recreation Center for a majority of my time at USF. And that helped me develop socially, like just, meet new people, different kinds of people. And I think my leadership role there kind of helped me to land my job here at Middle Tennessee, that I work part-time while in school. So I think the leadership skills I developed through my job at USF really got me to where I am today as well.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Maria?
Well, I think I have done a lot of things in college, definitely. But there were two key events that were so important to me, and it was attending to conferences. And one of them was in Washington, D.C. It was actually a conference on climate change, and I had the opportunity to lobby in the Capitol Hill and to speak with representatives in Washington. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. But at the same time, I was like excited about it, but I knew I didn't want it to be a public officer or somebody working in policy. Because although it was very exciting, and I really like speaking and getting my point across and telling a representative, hey, the planet matters, we need to do something, I thought, well, maybe I can do something better if I do it through another way, which was through businesses, right? Because yes, policy is very important, but having businesses that have values and that are ethical was very important to me. So it was like I had this realization that yes, I want to advocate for the climate, but through policy or government is not how I want to do it, which is something I was strongly considering. So having this experience of being out there and meeting people from all over the world, really, it was just so important. So I know now it's difficult, right, to have those opportunities. That happened in 2019. I know now it can be difficult because, right, of the whole situation we're living in. But any opportunity that you have to connect with somebody who thinks differently than you, who has a different background than you, it can really, give you a different perspective. So if you have any opportunity to get involved or participate in online conferences in different subjects, it really doesn't have to be exactly your major, but if you get that exposure, it really is gonna do a lot to you. Like it did to me. And after that, I started my own club. It's called Climate Action Coalition at USF, and we were able to do a lot of things last year as well. So it's just those things that it's just so magical, I guess, that when you have those realizations and those moments because you get exposed to these things. So I really hope you guys get those opportunities and you go for them. It's okay to take risks and it's okay to get out of your comfort zone.
Awesome. Thank you. And so while we're on the subject, any of the panelists, if you have a club or your organization or the alumni, your companies, if you want to drop those in the chat and promote those, we can definitely do those as well. And then we'll wrap up. Sebastian, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I'll briefly touch on, I was actually supervisor of elections for student government. I decided to get involved because it was a job. I interviewed for it. I learned what I don't like about student government and what, some of the skills that I learned there. But I wouldn't be here if I couldn't plug the School of Public Affairs at USF, right? So we talk about internships a little bit, and of course those are for credits. But these internships gave me the opportunity to connect with people, to connect with one of my mentors, Ron Pierce. He was a lobbyist for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He taught me a lot of things up in Tallahassee, and I also got the opportunity. I'm glad that you brought that up, Maria, to go up to DC and work in DC. I actually worked for Congresswoman Kathy Castor, who is the chair of the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis. And being able to meet those people up there, not just friends, but the connections that I have up in DC. I'm hoping to go back sometime soon. Definitely encourage you to get involved and seek those opportunities, because that was never presented to me, on a silver platter or anything. I had to interview to the point where I was chosen as one of the first USF and DC students because of my reliability, and they were familiar with me. I had done all the School of Public Affairs programs. I went to Tallahassee. I interned in Tampa, then Senator Bill Nelson's office. And so because I was so reliable and because, they knew me, they had no problem sending me up to DC. So a lot of that is accountability and making sure that you're a face that people can rely on. I mean, that's a big part of not just your college experience, but your job opportunities in the future, right? You can be a stellar student, a stellar worker, but if people can't rely on you and you don't have that sort of sense of familiarity, then a lot of those opportunities go out the window. So definitely getting involved. Stepping out of your comfort zone that's some of the best advice I've ever gotten, right? I would not have moved for half a year up to DC because I was not comfortable with that, right? I lived in the coldest place in the winter months. This housing was falling apart, but at the end of the day, I got to meet some friends many years ago that I'm still friends with today. And we talk about jobs at this point. We're that comfortable in our careers. We can say, hey, listen, do you have any opportunities? Or I have an opportunity. I know somebody that has an opportunity. I actually know somebody who would be a great fit for that. So that's a big part of that.
Okay, we got a good question, and so we will go in order here. We'll start with Sarah's question, and we're going to go in order. If you have an opinion, so one of the things, panelists, feel free to, not have a strong opinion on each question. We'll start with Christina. Do you all feel a rush to graduate?
Can you hear me this time, or is it
can.
Still... Okay. Okay. I do feel rushed to graduate, especially because I love school, I really do, but of course I want to make the big bucks or do things that sometimes school limits me with. But I have to remember that I'm still in school because I still have things that I need to complete. And so even though I am already technically in the field that I want to work in the future in, I still have things I can learn, which, by the way, I work at a mental health office as an admin assistant, and I want to concentrate in health management. So that definitely goes together.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things that push me or rush me the most is my family. They want me to get out of there. They're like, you need to get that degree as soon as you can. So actually, I'm graduating a semester early, and it's mostly because they were like, you need to graduate. Like you, I'm like, okay, wait, let me enjoy my time here. So actually, it was my family were very important in just pushing me. So yes, I have felt that rush, and how I deal with this is just that, you know, for me it was sort of okay. I just work hard and I took a lot of classes over the summer. At the end of the day, maybe a semester later or a semester earlier doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. But I just kept working hard, being focused on the end goal, which was getting that degree. So if you ever feel rushed, sometimes you probably need to take a few steps back and remember why you're doing this. I always remember your why and your motivation, and remember the end goal. Keep it always on side, which for now is getting that degree and then what's coming after. So just take some time for yourself and really try to meditate and remember your why. That's the most important.
Awesome. And Kelsey, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I think for me, it was more so self-induced pressure to get through my degree as quick as possible because I knew that I wanted to pursue either a master's or a PhD. So I didn't want to kind of linger around for longer than I needed to. And so I actually finished my bachelor's in 3 years. After reflecting on it, I somewhat kind of regret that decision. I wish I would have enjoyed my time a little bit more at USF and just slowed it down a bit and just got more experience with the faculty and just research experience in general. However, if it wasn't for me having rushed that process in undergrad, I would not enjoy my graduate program as much because now I know what it means to like slow down and just appreciate every learning moment, every social moment, and just really soak it all up.